Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to In My Feelings, a safe space to talk all things NBA. I'm your host, Big Wos, aka Wosny Lambre, and we got a very, very special guest, NBA legend, big shot, Robert Horry. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
No, it's awesome to have you, especially this time of year. Also, almost forgot we got another special guest in the building, the Larry O'Brien. Let me rub that thing for good luck. So happy you could be up here. Courtesy of the NBA, man. Means a lot that you're up here, especially during playoff time. Like you're one of those players who are known for this time of year, which is just an amazing reputation to have. That like this was the time of year that you came alive. So we're just really happy to have you on today, man.
Thanks, man. You know, it and the playoffs this year have been really crazy and fun to watch. You know, it's to me, this is the only time of year where I miss basketball.
Yeah.
Regular season is like, but as soon as the playoff roll around, I'm like, you start. But yeah, I love basketball.
I feel that. Man, I wanted to ask you something about your career off the top before we even get into the playoffs. Like I'm watching the Thunder play last night, and it's like touch and go. This is a very young team. None of these guys have ever done this stuff before, and they pull out a tight win. And I'm like, man, if they end up winning the championship, they're gonna remember this fourth quarter that they came through. I want to know what you remember from your first championship run with Houston, where you were like, man, this might actually happen this year. What, like, is there a game, a series, a moment where you were like, oh, we probably gonna do this thing?
And I think it was Mother's Day, and it's weird because during Mother's Day we won the first round. We beat the Clippers, and this is when you only had 5 games. So you won, and then went to play Phoenix, and we lost the first 2 games at home.
Wow.
When we had home court advantage throughout the playoffs because Seattle, who had a better record,
they lost to Mutombo.
They lost to Mutombo in Game 5, and we lost those 2 games. And after Mother's Day, we all just sat there in the locker room and says, "Man, why are you putting this pressure on ourselves? Just go out and just play." And then we won 2 in Phoenix, and then we tied the thing up and went on to win that series. And from that moment on was when you felt like, you know, every basketball said the basketball gods. You feel like the basketball gods
were
on your side.
And after being down 0-2.
After being down 0-2. And it was so weird because the following year we got down 3-1 to Phoenix and won that series. And so when you have little moments like that, you just say, yo, man, it's the weirdest thing because there's a confidence that overcomes you. And not just you, the coaching staff, the players, everybody. And you start walking around with your chest out and you just have that moment where you say, no, we down 15? No, we're going to win this game. And it's just about the belief and the cockiness that you have as a player that you're going to overcome whatever happens.
I want to get into this year's playoffs, man, because sad as it is to say, you're one of the very few people alive who have ever played against the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. So you know what it's
like that.
I'm just saying, you know, playing in that building for the biggest of games, you understand that atmosphere and what those people like, how desperate they are, how desperately they love that team. What do you remember of, the 94 finals, man? Because you guys pulled that out in 7 games, John Starks, 3 for 19, whatever it was. Just that's a legendary series. The first year Mike was gone. Yeah. What do you remember about 94 playing against the Knicks, playing in those huge games at the Garden?
To be honest, I was going into that series, I was like, I'm in trouble. And what I mean by that is you look at the people I had to guard. You had Charles Smith, Oakley. And then if I got switched off on Patrick Ewing, and we're not even talking about strong ass Anthony Mason sitting on the sideline and Bonner and all. It was just, and that this time, I was, fresh in the league, my second year in the league. I think I was wearing like 215, maybe 220. And
these guys with the Wolves.
They guys outweigh me about 30, 40 pounds of muscle. And so I just told myself I just got to be quick with everything. I got to keep my body away from it. And my whole mindset was just to, whatever happens, don't show any emotion because they're going to try to bully you. And I said, I'm used to being bullied. So it was just a fun, hard-nosed series. And what I love best about it is to watch 2 of the greatest centers ever to play to go head to head, and you
Yeah.
had to not become a fan and watch and become a participant, because when you see those two titans going against each other, sometimes you just wanted to watch.
Man, I love hearing you say that because those guys are like foundational Nick people. Like when people think about the Knicks, even like to this day, I'm a born and raised New York guy. In their mind's eye, they're thinking about Oakley and Mason
Mm-hmm.
and Ewing and that front court. Was Charles Oakley as scary as he seems?
You know what? It's so weird. I think when I was scared of him at first because you see how the tough guy image he
Yeah,
portrayed, but once you got done play, he plays the game the right way in a
got
respectful way.
you,
He's not a guy that would cheap shot you or anything
got
like
you.
that. So
He's not a
long as you
Karl Malone.
correct, so long as you play the game hard in the right way, he does the same thing. But once you step out of bounds, that's when he steps out of bounds. You know, it's like him. You say, "Oh, you cut off your finger, he's gonna cut off your arm. He's gonna go at you a little bit harder." So for me, I kept my mouth shut. I just played hard and just tried to do the best thing. But it was one moment where I kind of lost track of stuff. And it was an alley oop from out of bounds from Vernon, and I dunked on Charles. And I got in his face like, rah! And then he pushed me, and I realized, you don't want to do that, Rob. And I ran back down the court.
That is too
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Your career is so unique and special. You played on 2 repeat champions in Houston and Los Angeles,
Yep.
and then you played on a champion that didn't repeat with San Antonio. And I asked you this because Boston was my pick to win a championship this year.
Mhm.
I just knew these guys were going to repeat. And before Tatum even got hurt, they were about to be down 3-0. They were
Yeah.
about to be down 9 points with less than 3 minutes to go. Like that game was kind of done
Yeah.
and dusted. So basically the repeat dreams were over. Why do you think it's so hard to repeat?
I think number one, because the mental part of it is the hardest part. You got to get back up. And when you get back up, you got to take it to another level, because everybody's mad at you because you won it.
Yes.
And everybody's gunning for you. And it's not an athlete alive. Don't look at an athlete across the court and says, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard for you to sometimes to say I'm better than you when you already won that guy right there.
Yeah.
And so you got to be able to lift yourself up and be able to come to the moment. And you look at, to me, you know, you picked Celtics. My pick is just as bad. I picked the Cleveland Cavaliers
Jeez.
because I thought defensively, you looked at them, I was like, wow, they're good. But, you know, Indiana is showing you what pace can do for you sometimes.
Yeah.
And for me, I just think that's the hardest part, because it's not the physical part of the game. Everybody looks at, oh, he's knocking out threes, he's blocking shots. It's the mental part. Are you able to, you know, okay, have that attitude like, oh, we're down 5. I'm just going to get to the hole and get a bucket right now because we need a bucket. Or are you going to say, okay, let me do my little cone drill and shoot a 3 and it doesn't go in. You know what I mean? And that's what, if you look at today's game, a lot of those guys, they got all this and then they knock down and they pull up for the shot. But where you have that guy that's going to get you a guaranteed bucket, you know, get into the paint. And you look at Brunson, that's why he's the clutch player of the year, because he might settle for a 3, but 9 times out of 10, he get into his comfort spot and getting you a bucket. And that's what it's all about. You know, I always laugh about these guys who's like, oh, analyticals this. Analyticals shouldn't be involved in sports at all. Because this is about the heart, it's about the mind, and it's about, are you able to get a bucket when it's needed? Not who's going to shoot a 3 and say, okay, 3 is more than 2.
You know what's funny about that is I've traditionally, especially as a younger media guy coming up, I always felt the need to defend this idea of new wave, new age analyticals. No, this is the new way to play. I definitely used to be that person. But I would say, like, not just Boston this year, but Boston throughout the years, where they lose to the Warriors in the 22 finals, where they lose to the Heat in 23 in the playoffs when they shouldn't have. Where I'm just like, I know the math says you should be playing this certain type of way, but at a certain point, you got to play basketball.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you got to beat the guy in front of you. You know, you got to put a foul on him. You got to be physical. You got to do these kinds of things. And I've definitely come around to the fact that, like, yes, you want to play smart. Yes, you want the numbers to be on your side. But, like, also, like, it's something about, like, just like how you know, you went to the park when you were young and you went to the court and it's just like, I gotta beat this guy.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what it comes down to. You played with so many great players. That's another thing. Like, obviously, you don't win all the championships, be on so many championship teams without playing with great players. But, like, these guys are, like, I'm talking about top 10 ever.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about Dream and Shaq and Kobe and Timmy,
Yeah.
you know, and even to a lesser extent, Manu and Parker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you watch the guys today, who are the guys that you see like, no, this guy's one of the greats of our game of this time right now?
Well, yeah, of course, Steph and LeBron, KD, those three come immediately to mind. And then I'm a huge Giannis fan because I think when you play this game, you have to play it hard. And I think he plays it harder almost than any player out there. And then you look at guys who are not top tier, like Bridges. I love Bridges.
Yeah.
Even I always tell people he wears 25 because of me, and I'm lying. I just say that because he reminds me of me and the guy who just plays the game the right way and on both ends of the floor. And you know, everybody likes to use that term, two-way player. I'm like, this is not football. Two-way player.
Everybody has to play two ways.
Exactly. It shouldn't be used. And so for me, I feel like Bridges I love. And then for me, I also love, you know, guys like Norman Powell, guys who are just gritty, grimy, who play with these superstars.
A great role player.
They play with these superstars, but it's to me, it's the weirdest thing when a guy on a coach goes like, okay, you know, we need a bucket, and you don't go to the superstars, you go to that way. You probably wouldn't need this bucket if you use these guys more often in your offense and not just let the superstars take all the shots. And so those guys like that, I just really appreciate because you never hear anything about them. They never complain. They just play the game the right way.
Love that. I had a couple of questions I wanted to trip you up with today. A couple of gotcha questions. Coach Pop just retired. A lot of people say he's the greatest coach of all time. You also played for Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
And I'm putting you on the spot. You have to pick one. Who's the greater of the two?
I will go with Phil. And it's so weird when you do this and so you take one over the other. It's like you slapping the other one in the face.
But you have to.
But I'm not. You know, Pop was a great coach. The only reason I would pick Phil is because I played 7 years on the field, well, 5 years on the field. I played 5 years on the Pop, so I got a good gauge. And what I knew about at the time I played for Phil was he will let you bend the rules. And as a player, you have to have the ability to bend the rules because everything ain't gonna be A, B, C, and E. And for a long time, Pop was not a guy rigid who would let bend the rules. And I think it was due to me being there and some of the things that he was like, just do the Robert Horry thing. He got to a point where he said, just do the Robert Horry thing because it's like I'm bending the rules, but I'm not. It's like I tell people a lot of times is I don't make the product, I make the product better. And so I'm going to make this better by what I do and what I add to this.
Do you mind sharing what kind of rules you would kind of step out of just a little bit out of line when you were with the Spurs?
Well, you have these things like, let's say take a pick and roll. And let's say, take Brunson for instance. If we were playing him in a pick and roll, what would you do? Would you trap him?
Would you show?
And for me, I would watch if he comes off twice, and you watch because every player has tendencies and they go to their go-to move. And like next time, I'll just blow it up. And it's not at the time I could read.
It's not the rules of the defense that Pop instilled.
And if you trust your teammates, and if they're watching this, oh, Rob does this, that means I have to do A, B, C, and D, or whatever it is. And so you just will blow up a play because they're not expecting that. Because if you watch what New York does in the series when Brunson comes in the fourth quarter, he ain't passing the ball. He's not going to pass the ball. So you just trap him and get out. You say, who is the guy we going to let shoot? Hart, you hadn't made 4 shots. I don't know. OG, you made 8 in a row. We ain't going to leave you. You have to pick your poison. You don't let the head of the snake spit that venom at you. And Brunson's spitting venom and it's killing everybody. And so that's what I would do, something like that.
So I get what you're saying. Like, because a lot of coaches crave control.
Correct.
And obviously, whatever, Pop's way has worked. He's one of the greatest ever. You can't take that away from him. But just saying, like, out on the floor, it can't just be a rules-based thing. You got to allow your players to read and react.
Exactly. And the whole thing with so many players. Now, if I'm a rookie who just gonna do something off the fly, no, you guys are. I've been in the league 10 years. By the time I got you, I got 5 championships. Trust the process, as they would say, right? And so for me, there would be little things like that I would do. It was a weird story. We were playing the Nets in the finals with Phil, and Phil was playing Kenyon Martin. And Phil was like, guard him. I'm like, why am I going to guard Kenyon Martin shooting the jumper? He says, because he's going to make it. I'm like, if he keeps, let him keep. He was, I think, I can't tell you the stats. Kenyon came out and shot like 30 times, but that took away from everybody else, right? So nobody else got in the rhythm. And we won the game by like 20. I'm like, if he going to score 40 on me, I don't care. He can have 40. But if everybody else got 3, we won the battle. I might look like a bum on defense, but it's a process.
Right.
And so there's little things that I would do. I'm like, I'm not guarding him. I'm like, I want him to shoot because he's not a great shooter. He's a great guy in the paint, but outside the paint, the percentages go down. And so for me, that was one of the things I did. And then that's when Phil started trusting me too.
Got you.
It's little things like that where you know, people always talk, well, I'm reading the game, I'm watching film. You got to watch film. You got to know who you guard and their mentality, because there's a lot of players that feel like, get on my shoulders, I will carry you. And so if you want to carry him, you better be damn sure good. You're going to shoot 90% above if you're going to carry him. So
I love that. And how do you, because I love what you're saying, because it's like players need to have a mentality that isn't just like you're memorizing a math problem.
right.
It's like, nah, bro, like this isn't math. This is more artistic than that. What do you think is the balance between that and being what they call coachable?
I think when you say coachable, means like, okay, I might try and it don't work. Are you able to readjust and be coachable? Because you think about, let's take the Lakers, since I cover the Lakers. They're a coachable team, but they wasn't coached. You know, they came out and they tried this trap against Minnesota. Next thing you know, Gobert has 30 points. And then you keep doing it. I'm like, this is a dude who don't average 30. All of a sudden, you're still down. You're still doing this. Get out of it. Do something different. And, you know, you have to have a great coach that can coach. And then you have to have the smarts. We always talk about IQ. Can you adjust and fly? Can I pull out the board and write something? And by the time you walk out on the floor, you got it down. Do we have to literally go through practice and do it 5 to 6 times before it becomes a part of who you are? And for me, that's when it comes to coachable. Can you pull up that pass and, yo, listen, we're going to go here, we're going to trap on this. On the third play, we're going to go zone. All these things. Are you locked in enough? Will you remember that? And are you locked in as a coach, as a player, and be like, yo, don't forget, second play, we're going to run 12. You know what? So I think for me, I always talk about, you talked about the great side player. Kobe and I had this one thing where he knew that I had this thing where you posting up as a player, I would poke the ball loose. And I'd be like, and I had a signal, I'd be like, Ocho. And he would just start smiling and he would turn around and the big be looking like, why is he looking at me now? I poke it loose, he get it, he gone. And it's so weird. He used to get the steal for that. I'd be like, at the end of the game, I'm like, yo, man, you know that's my steal, right? He'd be like, nope. And so, and it's just certain players you have that connection with. Also, with another Kobe story was, we had this fun play where we'd be on the free throw line, the other team be shooting, and this to show you how some players don't pay attention. And Kobe be like, Kobe, watch the press. I think they're gonna press on this, and he'll start smiling because he knew I was gonna get it out quick, and he was gonna take off, and I'll throw it down the court. Because one of the favorite plays everybody shows Kobe, they don't show my pass. They show him going behind his back and dunking it. That's for me. That was our little connection. So you talk about IQ and little things you like, intricacies you have on the court, and it's just, you gotta have that. So you can have that as a player, but if I don't have it, it don't do you no good.
Got you. I want to also ask you about your time at Phoenix, which was brief.
Let me see. I don't remember that.
But why did you throw that towel at that dude? What was that? Why did you throw the towel at Danny Ainge? What happened there?
Remember, we just talked about, we've been up 3-1 against Phoenix, and we came back to win that series. Mario Elie, my boy. I love Mario.
Haitian sensation.
Exactly.
I love it.
Danny Ainge takes the ball out. They're down. We about to win the game. He takes it and throws it and hits Mario right in the face with the ball. like point blank. People forget he was a pitcher. He had more. He probably been better off playing baseball than basketball.
This is when you were in Houston. This happened.
Yeah, this was in Houston. So the following year, a couple of years later, I get traded, and so we're walking in the hallway and they're showing us the facilities. Sam Cassell and I, and he was like, "I know I hit Mario in the face on purpose with the ball." He tells me that. I was like, in my back of my mind, I'm like, I already don't like you, dude. So now you're gonna be able to coach, and so.
And he's the coach at the time.
He's assistant coach.
Okay, got you.
And so now all this animosity is starting to build up. We in Chicago, and we got beat by like 40 by Chicago, and we were like, well, our offense. And I says, you know what? Can I say something? I said, we keep talking about our offense, man. We got beat by 40. What about our defense? And then Danny Ainge's like, defense? You the worst defensive player on the team. I'm like, whoa, dude. I said 100 steals, 100 blocks, 100 threes, first player ever to do that. So I'm playing over here with Wayman, God rest his soul, Wayman Tisdale, Danny Man, and Wesley Person, and you say I'm the worst defensive man, F you. And so he was an assistant coach, and then the coach quit, and then he became the head coach. And then we traded away Michael Finley, who was my boy. We traded away AC Green. And my dog, Sam Cassell, got traded. So he said, well, we traded away those people to give you more time. So we go to Boston. I get a steal. I get a dunk. And I get something. I had 3 great plays in a row. And all of a sudden, he subs me for Danny Manning. I said, dude, I'm playing good. He said, man, go sit your ass down at the end of the bench. And I walk. I said, and I'm like, what did this mother say? I got up and I said, what did you fucking say to me? Excuse my language. And he said, said, man. And I threw the towel in his face and walked down early in the bench. But it's another long story what happened in the locker room out there, but I don't know if you want to know that part.
No, we do want to know that part. So how did that issue get resolved?
It didn't. So after the game, we go in the locker room, and Joe Klein was like, steps up and like, man, we don't do that shit here. And you got to excuse my language on this, so I got to tell the story.
No, you're allowed to say what you want, brother.
So I said, man, fuck your big-headed ass. He's like, what? We don't do that shit. And then I said, what you want to fucking do about it? And so he jumps up, and then Mark Bryant, Chucky Brown, they got traded me from Houston. So we all jump up. So basically the 3 Houston guys about to fight all the guys that were from Phoenix that we played during the playoffs. So that was going on.
God.
And the only thing that saved me was, I love this guy, God rest his soul, to Paul Silas.
Wow.
Paul Silas, calm down, Rob. Let's go in the back and let's just chill. I said, so we went back and chill. We went back to Phoenix. They suspended me for 2 games. And then after that, Danny Ainge called me on the phone and said, I hate to say this, I just probably won you some more championships. I'm like, what do you mean by that? We just traded you to the Lakers.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, yes! I hung up the phone. I didn't even know. I didn't ask who I was traded with, who I was traded for. I got in my car and I drove to LA the next day.
You drove to LA from Phoenix?
The next day, I put all my stuff in my car,
wow.
Called my boy up, said, man, get here now. We driving to LA. And so he got in the truck, I got in the car, and we drove to LA. And so
that's amazing, man. That's a beautiful story. I just want to get you out of here. One thing, who you think is gonna take home the trophy this year, man? Who do you got that's left?
Man, I want to still ride with Cleveland, man, but injuries are a big part of the playoff. You see what just happened to Jason Tatum, and it's just so hard to pick right now. You look at who has rhythm. Who's looking like the basketball guys on this side. And it looks like the Knicks. It looks like the basketball guys are on their side, man. And the weird part is, it's like nobody's talking about the Pacers. The Pacers right now are like the Spurs.
They're playing excellent.
They're playing out of their mind.
Excellent team
It's like
ball.
once they called out Halliburton saying he was the most overrated Pacer, what? I'm going to show you. So right now it's up in the air. But, at the end of the day, talent and size and chemistry plays a huge role. So whoever wins this next series between Denver and OKC will win it all.
I love it. I love that pick. I absolutely love that pick. To me, that's the best series of the playoffs so far. The highest level of execution, just talent, just all of that stuff is happening in that series. So, man, Bob, thank you for coming on today, man. This was awesome, bro.
My pleasure,
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.